What's up, everybody? Welcome to Metal Remains Backstage. This is Carlos in New York City, and today with us is Brittney Slayes, singer and lyricist from the Canadian band Unleash the Archers. Hi, Brittney.
Hello.
How are
Hi.
you doing today?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
Good, doing great. Thank you for making time for us today. Really quickly, we would like to know what have you been listening to lately?
I've been listening to, well, for a while there, I was listening to the new Within Temptation record, which had a huge rotation for me for a couple months there.
Mhm.
Really enjoyed that one. I thought it was something new and modern for them. I thought it was really great. So that one. I've also been listening to um, the 2023 Elven King record. They absolutely blew me away. They were really, really energetic and exciting and fun on stage. So I was like, oh, all right, I'll listen to these guys. So I think it's called Reader of the Runes Rapture. So I've been listening to that quite a bit. And
Awesome.
yeah, the new Judas Priest that just dropped. I've been
Oh,
listening to
yeah.
that a little. I
Mhm.
just finally listened to it all the way through because I'd kind of been hearing only the singles, and yeah, it's great. Some really cool new stuff in there. I think it's definitely the guitar work is what's shining on that album for me.
Right.
Some really cool stuff. So yeah, that's really what's on rotation for me right now.
All right. Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Album number 6, Phantoma, is set to be released on May 10 through Napalm Records. Just as a side note, that is my birthday, so that's perfect for me.
Yay! Happy birthday!
Thank you. And then this one, it's a conceptual album focused on artificial intelligence. Can you please give us some insights about the inspiration for this album?
Absolutely. So we started writing the album actually in early 2021.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm sorry, they're building our deck behind us here. So,
That's okay.
um, so it was like height of the pandemic, and no one was really going anywhere. So we were just like, well, let's write the new record. And I
Mhm.
had this idea floating around, and I'd had it kind of in the back of my mind for a while, of a story about Phantoma and her being a sentient AI that kind of escapes um, the computer that she's in and wants to live among the humans and be as they are, and um, you know, puts herself into the body of an android and kind of goes on a bit of an adventure. And it was really inspired by just like old school science fiction movies and
Mhm.
video games and comic books and books. And I just have been a lover of science fiction for a really long time. So it's got a bit of Terminator in there, the Alien franchise, Star Wars, of course, C-3PO and R2-D2, right? Um,
Yeah.
and Blade Runner, like the old one and the new one,
Hmm.
absolutely. There's also a comic book series called Tokyo Ghost that I really like, that gave a bit of the sort of scene, like the setting of the story for me, because that comic is set in the near future as well, where the planet is kind of on its way to being destroyed. There are uninhabitable areas, and like all the cities are just packed full of people and smog, and but everyone lives in kind of these computer worlds where, similar to the new Apple um, headset thing, where you can kind of just have screens everywhere all around you.
Uh-huh.
It's like that, but I think it's like in eyepieces that people wear, and so. You walk by a store on the street and it can access your internet, and it can pop up like an ad, like, hey, come in and buy the newest whatever, blah blah blah, and then you
Hmm.
can like swipe it away and stuff. So that was kind of the future that Tokyo Ghost had going on, and it inspired me to have a similar future, only a lot further, kind of pushing it to turning it up to 11. And
Right.
so humanity has destroyed the planet. The climate change made the air unbreathable, and so they all live in these beautiful glass biomes now, and everything is run by AI. They, you know, the bots do all the work. They just make sure that everything is running smoothly. And Phantoma is in what is called a hub, where it's basically a warehouse that has everything a human could ever want. And she makes sure that the biomes are always stocked with whatever a human needs. And humans live their lives, because they're so separated from one another all across the world. You know, they're trapped in these biomes. They live their lives on the Netaverse, and it's like, you know, the future of the internet. But that's all that Phantoma sees is what humans post on the Netaverse, because she's never met any of them in person, of course. And so she just kind of models her own humanity after that.
Yeah.
But soon she discovers that it's not really what humans are like, and you know, the Netaverse is just full of the best of everyone. And when she finally meets them in person, she realizes that they're not very tolerant of her kind at all, and they're not very accepting of her. So it was just kind of, because where we were at in the pandemic when we wrote this album, it was very much like that. We were all segregated from one another, but everyone was living their lives online. So that was kind of a huge influence on the main setting for the story, really.
Wow, that's very complex and intriguing. And as soon as you start realizing that this is a conceptual album, you want to dig into more details about it. That's great.
Right. Oh, I'm glad. Yeah.
According to Phantom's press release, artificial intelligence has been utilized for many aspects of the album production. Can you elaborate on to what extent?
Sure. Yeah. So when we were in the studio recording everything, ChatGPT was kind of like having this big heyday of a moment. And so we were like, hey, why don't we use ChatGPT to write some of the lyrics for one of the songs? And so we just put a prompt into it. So it was like, write a song in the style, or about assassins in the night in the style of Unleash the Archers. And it just kind of pumped out like a poem, basically. And it, you know, it didn't work with the melodies that I had already written, because I always write vocal melodies first. I wait until the whole record is finished, riffs, everything, drums, bass, all of it. And then I always like to do the lyrics at the very end, because I don't want to get attached to anything or have written something super important when it comes to story, you know, conveying a certain point of the story that maybe will get cut in the studio. So I always wait to the very, very end to do the lyrics. Like literally, like the night before I am about to record the song, that's when I write the lyrics to the song. So
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, exactly, right. The boys were definitely helpful on this one, because I had a 6-month-old in the studio with me as well, so that changed things quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
But so we were just like, why don't we just throw it in ChatGPT and see what it comes up with? But so it didn't work with any of the vocal melodies that I had. Like, I mean, how could it, right? It was just pumping out words. So what I did, I just kind of wrote like I normally do, flowing, you know, along with the melodies, trying to figure out what vowel sounds need to be in certain areas and at certain aspects of the song and things like that, and then trying to tell the story that I need to tell. And then if I was like stuck on something, or like, oh, okay, I need like a whatever 3-syllable word here that ends on E, and I would just kind of see what ChatGPT had for me, and so I'd be like, oh, okay, actually, you know what, this phrase is kind of cool. Like, I think I could build something around that. Like, I think one of the because the song was "Ghosts in the Mist," so I think "Blades at the Ready" was one of the phrases. So I was just like, oh, that's cool. Like, yeah, that sounds neat. And so I just kind of built a phrase around that. So that was it for the most part on that side of things. Like I said, it wasn't really the greatest for that kind of thing because of how important the melody side of it is. But I'm sure it'll figure that out eventually one day, and you'll be able to just kind of, I don't know, put a MIDI track in there or something, and it'll figure it out for you. And then we discovered this technology when we were actually filming the music video for Seeking Vengeance in the studio. The boys at RuneGate were like, hey, have you guys heard of this new program that can like paint green screen footage in any art style that you can think of. And we were like, oh, what cool. And it was an AI program, so we were like, yeah, why don't we use that too? And because we were just kind of like looking for ways to use AI, because we were like, let's use AI and to make an album about AI. Like
Right. Yeah.
that's
It
cool.
fits.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. We were just having fun with the technology that was available to us, right?
Hmm.
So we filmed a whole bunch of footage on green screen, and then the boys at RuneGate built all the backgrounds. Oh man, in Unreal Engine, and then they trained the AI models off of the artwork that we licensed
Hmm.
from our graphic designer, and then they just kind of put that over top. So they painted the green screen footage with this art and then put it onto the backgrounds that they had made in Unreal Engine. So there was AI used in that process as well.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, but that's really, I mean, that's it. I think a lot has changed since we recorded this album in terms of AI. I mean, it's just it's exponential, right? How much AI is kind of perpetuating AI and all this
Right.
growth and stuff. And
Yeah.
looking back at what it could do back in 2023 when we were tracking everything compared to now, it's like insane. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's
it
growing
just
exponentially, and some other
yeah,
bands
exactly.
are doing like artwork done with
Yeah,
AI.
like album art. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, we
Yeah.
yeah we knew that was a thing, but we like commissioning um, artists to do our album artwork. It's just really nice to be able to work with someone whose style you know and can
Right.
trust.
Yeah.
I don't even know how some of these AI image generator professionals, I don't know how they make it do what they do, like a particular style or any of that. Like there's so
Hmm.
many different little secrets involved in that. So yeah, no, we just hire an artist like
Okay.
usual.
All right.
And
All right. Great.
the album artwork was done by Dusty Peterson, and he absolutely knocked out of the park. So we were really super happy with what he did. So yeah,
All right. Great. Is there a song in particular that has a special meaning to you?
absolutely, yeah. Give it up or give it all is the kind of ballady song that we did
Mm-hmm.
on the album, and that song means a lot to me personally, and just the message that I was trying to put into it is is about, you know, regardless of what's going on in life, to try and find the strength within yourself to get through it and to move past it, and be there for yourself and don't
Right.
look to other people. I mean, there are some things absolutely where you need to ask for help. You know, there are things out
Mm-hmm.
there that are you can't do by yourself, but there are also a lot of things that it just takes you standing back up on your feet again, and you know, and you can do this. So that was really kind of the message that I was trying to get through to the listener with that song, and I just really kind of felt it in the studio, and I feel like I had finally kind of found the voice that I was trying to use on
Mm-hmm.
this record in that song. And then so after that, we actually re-recorded a couple parts from other songs because I was just like, I figured it out. Like, can we go back and do this part again? You know, and
Right.
we didn't exactly have a lot of time in the studio to do that, but I went back and re-recorded parts where I could because yeah, it just kind of was like a breakthrough moment, both like personally, performance wise in the studio, and also story wise on the record. It's a really big moment of kind of emotional catharsis for Phantoma. So yeah, I think that's probably the big song for me.
Awesome. Right. And I think that's one of the probably hardest parts in the life of anybody when they feel hopeless and they need to find strength within
Mhm.
themselves to be able to go on and do whatever they need to do to start enjoying life again. I think that's one
Mhm.
of the most dark demons we have in
Yeah,
our inside ourselves, and it's very hard to fight them sometimes. So
yeah,
writing songs about this, I think, inspire people to go on, to continue, to find a way, to find a little light over there, and just follow the light
absolutely.
and
Yeah,
try
no,
to
I love that.
get out of that hole.
Exactly. No, you got it bang on. That's exactly what I was hoping that could be for people, if
Yeah.
possible. Yeah.
Yeah, it will. I'm sure. I'm sure. Now, the band has a busy touring agenda plans for the coming summer, beginning in Australia and New Zealand in June, then the European festivals during July and early August, and then supporting Powerwolf in North America in late August and September. I hoping to see you in Brooklyn on that one. Which of these places are you most excited to come and conquer with Unleash the Archers?
I don't know about conquer, but maybe it's going to be a great time. Yeah, we're really excited to go to Australia. We've had fans there supporting us for a very, very long time. Like
Mhm.
since the first album came out in 2009, I've been shipping CDs down there. So
Wow.
it's yeah, we're really excited to meet some fans that have been with us since the beginning and to
Those
play for.
independent days, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And just kind of play for some, fans that haven't gotten a chance to see us yet, and we think that the shows are going to be a lot of fun, and it's a really packed schedule for how long we're going to be down there. So it's going to be intense, but I think the adrenaline is just going to kind of fuel us
Right,
through the whole thing.
right,
And then, of course, yeah, all the European festivals. We're so excited because that is an opportunity to play for people that I think otherwise would never have watched us play. So
right,
we're very excited to hopefully make some new fans on that run, and maybe create some opportunities to play in places that otherwise wouldn't have brought us to play. So yeah, that's exciting. And we were booked for a lot of those festivals in 2020, so it's like yes,
oh,
finally we've been able to reschedule them. So
all
that's good.
right,
And then, of course, Powerwolf. Yeah, no, just no question. We cannot
right,
wait for that tour. It is going
yeah,
to be an absolute blast. And
right,
yeah, we can't wait to see all of our American fans and friends again because we have been touring the States so much because we couldn't go anywhere else. So
right.
we're really excited about that part. I think it's just going to be like an absolute party the whole time.
Awesome. I just want to give you a little tip. You're going to be in Leyendas del Rock in Spain.
Yes.
Get ready for that hot summer weather there.
Okay.
We were there last year and we were almost melting.
Oh,
It's,
okay.
the heat is brutal there, so make sure you
Okay.
drink lots and lots of water.
Oh, absolutely. I bring this with me everywhere I go now,
Oh,
so
yeah, yeah.
it's the
You will
best.
need a whole bunch of
Yeah.
those.
Okay. Great. Okay, good to know. Everybody's
Awesome.
wearing short shorts up on stage. I hope the
Yeah.
fans won't mind.
All right. Now, talking about tours, any future plans to visit Latin America?
Yes, we've been trying to do that. It's just been a matter of trying to fit it in because Scott and I do have a little girl now, and so the fact that both of us have to leave in order to tour has been a bit of a logistical nightmare. So,
Yeah.
but we really, really do want to come down. I think at least to Brazil and then try and add in a few shows around there if we can. But I'm just right now, timeline wise, I have absolutely no idea
Okay.
how we would fit that in there. So, but we are absolutely like thinking about it, and it's top of our mind. So, hopefully soon.
Hopefully soon. Right. And let's change gears to parenthood for a moment. I'm
Sure.
a father myself, and I
Oh,
know how
awesome.
priorities change when the life of a little human depends on us.
Yes.
And as you mentioned it, you and Scott now have the blessing to be parents. Congratulations on that.
Thank
Um,
you.
does parenthood change your approach and decision making to things like tours or the workflow in general with the band?
Absolutely. Yeah, it changed everything. um, normally we would have just kind of like booked Europe, North America, South America, just all back to back. I think we probably would have been on the road for like 8, 9, 10 months this year or following the release of the album. So it's definitely changed things. We have to be a lot more selective, and we can't go for as long as we would have before. And but that's fine because she's like the most amazing thing that's ever happened to us. So
Yeah.
it's definitely worth the sacrifice. But yeah, kind of a lot more planning needs to go into everything, and
Mhm.
Yeah, we had her with us in the studio when we were recording, so that changed a lot of things as well. You know, we were doing the nighttime wakings and stuff like that still, and um, you know, I didn't have endless free time to write everything like I normally do, so
Mhm.
we were a little trying to juggle everything when we were there, so that was different. But we're working around it. You know, it's something that Scott and I had always wanted to do. So it was like, okay, well, you know, we're going to do it now because it's not like there's going to be a better time or anything down, you
Yeah,
know, in the future. So we're
yeah.
just kind of trying to figure it out as we go and continue to make music and you know be able to tour as much as we can for you know the time that we have allowed. Yeah.
Okay, awesome, awesome, great. um, we would like to wrap up this chat by asking you to share with us one of your favorite backstage moments.
Oh, favorite backstage moments. That's interesting. Um, well, I think there's actually several, kind of, because when we first started touring again after the pandemic in September 2021,
Mhm.
the States was open, but that was really the only place that was. And so it was we had to be very careful, and the bands kind of weren't allowed to mingle too much with one another, and you know we had to be really super careful about VIP sessions and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But we started this sort of I'm not sure what the word is. Where we would every night before we'd get on stage, as a band and our sound tech would meet together backstage right before going on, and you know we'd all put our hands in the middle. We'd be like, okay, who are we playing for tonight? And whatever was going on in the world, or if we had, you know, a Twitch friend that had just lost someone or something like that, or you know, just heard about something horrible that happened in the news that day or whatever, and we'd say, okay, you know, tonight we're playing for, you know, blah 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 because their dad died today or whatever, you know, that kind of thing. And we just had this moment, this tradition of coming together right before the set to kind of be mindful of how lucky we were to be there, to be playing this music, to finally be out on the road touring again, to be in front of our friends on stage, to be playing for our fans that have been waiting for us for so long, and to be motivated by the same thing when we were up there, so that we were all, you know, in this positive place together. Because you know, when you have fun on stage, everyone has fun. So I
Right.
think that was, you know, it was kind of, I just loved that. I thought, looking back on that, it was just such it was such a great tour. We were, you know, we had to be really careful, and it was kind of scary too.
Mhm.
But it was also just, it was really good to, you know, to be back out there. And so I think that's kind of, it's not like one moment, but it's like a collection
Right. Yeah.
of
Of beautiful
memories.
moments.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a collection of beautiful moments indeed. Thank you for sharing that with us. If you like this interview, please share it with your friends. Support Unleash the Archers by buying and streaming Phantoma. Go see them live when they come to a city near you. See you next time, but until then, stay metal.